Welcome to VICTORPATH. Most people believe they want love, respect, success, or connection, but underneath many of those desires is something even more fundamental: validation. We want to feel seen. We want to feel valued. We want confirmation that who we are matters. Today, I want to explore the psychology of validation, why people seek it, when it becomes dangerous, and how to build a life that isn't controlled by it. So, validation is essential to who we are, essential to who we are. No matter who you are, there's a level of wanting to be validated by others. So it affects us to whatever degree, but it affects us all. Now, we're going to this episode is about the psychology of validation. So we're going to address four main points about the psychology of validation. First, we're going to begin with validation is human nature. Validation is human nature. Why do people seek validation? Think about that. Why do people seek validation? And it boils down to many different things. Humans are social creatures, both men and women. In my opinion, I think women a little bit more, not a little bit, significantly more than men, but we are both men and women, we are both social creatures. That's one thing. Um, Acceptance has historically increased our survival. So learning how to work with each other, add value to each other, validation, just providing value, helping each other survive. The closer we were, the more we accepted each other. We're going to get deep into acceptance, approval, all that stuff a little bit later. But the more you were validated, the more you were accepted amongst each other. Um, and then naturally, it's just in us to care what others think about us. You know, I can say for myself, as I got older, I learned less. I learned to care less what people think about me. But even somebody like me, I still care what people think about me to some degree. We all do. And we have to because there are social norms and you have to be aware of what you do and the impact that it would have on others. And part of that uh, is why we care about what others think about us. And examples of how validation is human nature, how we validate each other is compliments, likes and follows on social media, praise from our parents, recognition at work. Those are the way how we validate each other. Some of the ways. Validation is not a weakness. It's part of being human. So it's part of it. It's not bad. It could become bad, which we will talk about coming up next. Become when validation becomes dangerous when it creates identity. This is the main way. One of the main ways how validation becomes dangerous. So validation, with the right balance, it could be good, but when validation becomes when when it creates validation becomes dangerous when it creates identity. So when does validation become unhealthy? When you're gonna when does validation become unhealthy? You gotta think about that. When does validation becomes unhealthy when it creates your identity? Precisely when You build your identity around external approval, approval from others. So everything you do is dependent upon what they think about you. Living for applause. You see entertainers are like this to some degree, to a lot of degree. Uh, to live for how people cheer for you, and you're down when people boo you. You just want everybody's approval. Um, and then making decisions to avoid criticism. This could be in the form of being a coward. You don't want to make a tough judgment because you don't want them to think bad about you. So this is when validation uh, becomes dangerous. Validation. This is one of the main ways of how validation becomes dangerous when it creates identity, and this happens. The main habitat for validation becoming dangerous is relationships, social media, careers, or your friend groups. If someone else's opinion of you creates your identity, then it can destroy it as well. So again, as I mentioned in the beginning, well, let me say that again. If someone else's opinion can create your identity, it can also destroy it. So as I said in the beginning, naturally, yes, we do care what others think about us, but it has to be at a healthy level. It has to be at a healthy, uh, the right temperature. Can't be all the way up here. Has to be okay. I care enough to navigate the system. I don't care enough what they think about me that is going to affect my mood. Attention is not validation. Point three. Attention is not validation. What's the difference? Attention is kind of like surface level. You might see an attractive girl. You're going to give her attention. Approval is, it could be in the realm of, well, not necessarily, because the attraction is going to, she's going to get your attention. And that's one of the, pretty privilege, they say, like, or, you know, you get, at least you get the chance to be, you have your foot in the door as a woman. You get a chance because people are going to give you attention based off of what they see, especially men. But now approval is doing something that people approve of, people like, people appreciate. And respect would be doing that all on a consistent basis and earn like and people like, okay, that's what that person is good. I trust that person. Or it could be third party, so you could hear from somebody else. This that person is good at that. I trust that person with that. They could tell you, oh, that person Paul is good at this, so you could use him for that, and they earn your respect. Sometimes, you know, believe it or not, we give people respect based on how they look. Strange. I mean, I guess you could respect somebody who has a fit body. But it's a little bit strange when like just you could uh, give someone attention. You see them, like you see naturally, you see an attractive girl, cool. But then you want to just because she's pre- uh, pretty, you respect her. Like it's like sometimes men respect their moral compass more than we respect ourselves because she's pretty. That's it. She got a nice body. It's a little bit strange to me. Um, Many people confuse being noticed with being valued. Go back to attention. Attention is being noticed, but being valued is doing something, getting somebody's approval, and then doing consistently, you get their respect. Example, viral celebrities, social media, public figures. These people are good at being noticed. But, when you talk about doctors, nurses, construction workers, electricians, plumbers, they're valued because we can't do anything. Truckers, military, police, can't do much. They're valued. Attention can be purchased. Respect must be earned. Now going into point four, the last point, in, internal validation versus external validation. And I've been flirting with this a little bit when talking about you have to gauge the level of validation because naturally we want approval from others, we want validation from others, but you have to gauge it. You have to be at a certain level because most of the validation comes from within. That's where the true source of validation comes from within. And you're only seeking validation. You should train yourself to seek validation enough to only care what they think about you to seamlessly, expertly, masterfully, craftfully navigate through the systems, through whatever system. It could be work, education, healthcare, whatever industry you're in. Everything is in relationships, all running systems. Systems. But so that's when it's important to make sure your external validation is aligned. But that's not your source. That's not your source. That's not your main source. That is only your armor to navigate the system, the systems. The true source of validation, your confidence comes from within. Where should confidence come from? Personal standards. What your goals that you set for yourself is way higher than any standards, any goals that anybody could set for you. Integrity. Be honest to yourself. Discipline. If you say you're going to go to the gym 3 times a week, go 3 times a week. If you're going to go 4 times a week, go 4 times a week. If you're going to go 5 times a week, go 5 times a week. If you're going six, etc., etc., etc. Stick to what you say. Now, it's okay if things change, circumstances change, and you have to adjust it. Okay, I only go four. I only could do, but the point is, you stay disciplined. You you want these results. You don't sit down and just hope for it to come. You have discipline and you work and you play the long game. You're willing to play the long game. And when the best opportunity comes, you're always kind of like in shape, prepared to capitalize on it. Have discipline. Keep promises to yourself. So keep your promises. And sometimes it conflicts with what promises that you made others. You should be careful about the promises you make both to yourself and to others. But you don't break your promises to yourself. If you have to break your promise between others and yourself, you break the promise to others. You keep your promises to yourself. Now, there could be exceptions, like if you have children, family, but generally speaking, I would say eight to nine out of 10 times, don't break your promises to yourself. Examples would be fitness. Set fitness goals. Don't break the promises to yourself. Writing. Set writing goals. Don't I have a publishing company. I don't break my promises to myself. Business. I have multiple businesses. I don't break my promise. If I set out to do this amount of week, this amount of time, I'm going to do it. Business. I'm just focused on providing service to the community in uh, the best way I can through my companies, business, education, educated learning what I need to learn to navigate the systems better, be more efficient and effective, ultimately productive in these systems. External validation feels powerful, but internal validation creates stability. That's what you need more than anything. Stability. And stability could be boring, but stability ultimately what gets you to where you need to be. And that's why, like, whatever endeavors you have, it's better to start slow, stabilize it. Like, gauge the pace that you will go at a stable rate. Then when you maintain that stability, then you push a little bit more, push a little bit more, push a little bit more. But you're not on a rush. You're not on a rush to be externally validated. No, the validation is already here. It's already here, mostly here. The extent of the validation you need from others is to navigate the system, your armor. But the true validation is already in here. So what they think about you is not going to affect your mood. What they think about you is going to affect your ability to navigate the systems. And, whether you want to or not, like in the movie The Matrix, to some degree, you do got to navigate the systems, but it's not what it appears to be. That's why the validation has to be from within. What's in it, what's within is what it is. It is what it appears to be, but you just have to look within and find it. And on that note, one of the ideas I explore while writing In Love with the Chimera is how attention and validation often become forms of power. Sometimes people don't fall in love with a person. They fall in love with how that person makes them feel about themselves. And those are not always the same things. If these themes interest you, they're explored further In Love with the Chimera Definitive Edition, available on Amazon and thought provoking that space.